Chapter 34. Rachael lay in her bunk, her body curled into itself, arms wrapped around her stomach as if she could physically hold back the pain that had consumed her since her meeting with the doctor. Her mind replayed the moment over and over, the flash of the knife, the brief look of shock on his face, the crimson blooming against his white shirt like a spreading stain of irreversible fate. She squeezed her eyes shut and willed the memories away, but they only grew louder. Laughter erupted from the common room, crude jokes, clattering cutlery, doors banging. Then a sharp yell. A new inmate was accused of being a snitch. Insults flew, threats were exchanged, and Rachael knew what would come next. She had been here long enough to understand that in places like these, you either stood up for yourself or you suffered the consequences. A shadow filled the doorway before resolving into the familiar shape of Kate Jones. She stepped inside, another inmate trailing close behind, blonde hair, lazy movements, arrogance clinging to her like perfume. "Why are you crying?" The question was pointless, almost insulting. "Not now," Kate snapped, shooting her a sharp look that stopped whatever remark the woman had been about to make. "Not now." Blondie huffed, unimpressed. "I only asked." Rachael wiped her face and pushed herself upright. Her temples throbbed as if her scar had been tightened from the inside. The air felt thick, heavy in her lungs. She blamed it on the doctor. "How are you feeling?" Kate asked gently. The question lingered long after the lights dimmed, long after the wing settled into the uneasy quiet of the night. How was she feeling? If she was honest, she felt frustrated, empty, exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. Tired of crying, tired of the relentless guilt that clung to her no matter how hard she tried to shake it. It followed her into every corner of her mind, every waking moment, a constant reminder of what she had done. She turned onto her side, facing the wall, pressing her cheek into the thin mattress. There had to be a way out of this feeling. She didn't want escape. She wasn't naive, but she needed a way out of the suffocating darkness that wrapped itself around her tighter than the bars ever could. Footsteps echoed down the corridor as guards made their rounds, their presence marked by keys and measured strides. Through the narrow window high above her pod, she caught a glimpse of the moon. It seemed cold, distant, and indifferent to everything that was happening around her. The world was still, everything except her mind. She rose from the bed, her bare feet touching the icy floor. Hands braced at her hips, she paced the small space like a caged animal. Tears slipped silently down her face as her chest tightened, her breath growing shallow. She didn't know if the session with the doctor had made it worse. There was nowhere for the feeling to go, no place to put it. And then it broke free. The sound tore out of her without warning, raw, guttural, so violent it startled her. It took a moment for her to realize it had come from her own throat. It was anguish, stripped of language, the same sound that had escaped her when the doctor forced her to say things she wanted buried forever. It was the cry of something wounded and cornered, a prisoner who had finally reached the end of her strength. "Who is making that noise?" someone groaned from another pod. "Shut up," another voice snapped. A few curses followed. Muttered complaints echoed through the wing. Rachael barely registered them. She stood there shaking, the sound still ringing in her ears, her chest heaving. Her knees gave way and she sank to the floor, the impact barely registering. The words came before thought could stop them, low at first, then breaking free with a desperation that surprised her. "Please, help me, Lord." She bowed forward, her body folding in on itself as sobs shook through her. She had exhausted every other refuge, denial, anger, grief, and none of them had held. Now there was nothing left to brace herself with, only the truth of what she had done, and the weight of carrying it alone. She stayed there until time lost its shape, When she finally moved, her muscles ached as though they had been clenched for hours. She dragged herself onto the bed, limbs heavy, breath shallow. The cell was quiet now, the usual sounds of the prison reduced to distant echoes that no longer pressed against her thoughts. Her eyes fell on the Bible beside her pillow, its cover worn soft with use. It had been on her bed since the day she entered the facility. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up and let it fall open. Moonlight slipped through the bars and settled on a single line of text. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." She read it again, slower this time. The words did not erase anything, but they settled something inside her, easing the tight, constant pressure in her chest. She read it once more, and with it came a realization so quiet it almost escaped her. She did not have to hold this alone. She turned the page and stopped again. "He was wounded for our transgressions, and by his stripes we are healed." Her finger traced the verse as though it might anchor her. For the first time, the thought did not feel abstract or unreachable. The Bible slipped from her hands onto the bed. She did not know how long she knelt there afterward. The sounds of the facility, guards' footsteps, coughs, murmurs, faded until there was only her breathing and the steady calm that had taken their place. The ache in her chest softened, replaced by something gentler, something she had not felt in years. "Peace." She bowed her head again. "Dear Lord," she whispered, and this time the words did not fracture. "Thank you." It was surrender. "For you," she whispered, "the one who carries what I cannot." "I give this to you," she said quietly. "All of it, my guilt, my shame, what I did to Edward." Her hands curled into the blanket beneath her, then loosened. "I will face what comes," she continued, "but I won't be crushed by it." The silence that followed was not empty. It held. When she finally lifted her head, her mind was still. The walls and the bars remained. Tomorrow would come, and with it the court proceedings. She knew she was not alone, and for the first time since that night, she was no longer fighting herself. Who has believed our message? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no stately form or majesty to attract us, no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. Like one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he took on our infirmities and carried our sorrows. Yet we considered him stricken by God, struck down and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray. Each one has turned to his own way, and the Lord has laid upon him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. And who can recount his descendants? For he was cut off from the land of the living. He was stricken for the transgression of my people. He was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with a rich man in his death. Although he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth, yet it was the Lord's will to crush him, and to cause him to suffer. And when his soul is made a guilt offering, He will see his offspring, he will prolong his days, and the good pleasure of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After the anguish of his soul, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will allot him a portion with the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he has poured out his life unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Isaiah 53, 1-12.